Greetings and welcome to this episode on Geeks First. Today we're going to talk about I'd almost say metamorphosis of Flesh and Blood from maybe the Flesh and Blood 2.0 to 3.0, as some have now coined that term. So all that and more right now. Like a butterfly or a moth, Flesh and Blood has metamorphosized into something even more beautiful than I guess I would have understood a few months ago. Now, you may think of this as being inconceivable or something that is not capable of being imagined or grasped initially. Also, not what you might think, because, well, the game now is in a different state than it was. And a lot of that to do is, well, because the game is evolving right before our eyes. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like right now. All right, so on the back of Pro Tour Amsterdam, which is basically a really good keynote speech that was delivered by Brian Gottlieb, who is displayed on the screen here. We have some updated information. I did a live reaction to this video, but this is a more consolidated thought digestion of that, and we're going to walk through some of these items as they have appeared. So with this keynote speech, which was about 36 minutes long, I recommend you go watch that to form your own opinions, but realistically, we're going to start by talking about Pro Tour Amsterdam in general. And a couple of key things about Pro Tour Amsterdam is the meta is a lot more diverse than people are, I believe, giving it credit for. And this is shown by the fact that out of kind of nowhere, I don't want to say out of nowhere in a bad way, but Shoma came in with Azuri and actually won over the big bad boy Zen or New, right? And I get that there's a lot of things that I'm not capable of understanding with that because I'm not a pro player. But this goes to show that if you love a character and you are proficient at that character and do things, where you learn the nuances of that character, anything could be possible. So what's nice about this, right, is you have this camaraderie, this friendship, this beautifulness that really is encompassed in these photos that are in this, right? And I feel like it's a disservice to not give credit where credit is due, but also understand that this is some of the highest level of playing. And even though that this individual has been only in Flesh and Blood for a very short amount of time, because Japan just came online, right? This is kind of, as Josh Ruderman has coined, it's kind of like a Cinderella story. It's so great because this in general kicks off something because they just came into that new, I guess, selling environment, right? As in they onboarded that whole, geographic location. This individual, from what I've been told, owns a Flesh and Blood only store. Obviously, he got, to the top here and won a large sum of money, which is also going to hopefully help bolster his business. And frankly, it's something for him to go home to his friends, his family, people that look up to him, and say, if I can do it, you can do it. And I 100% agree with that. There's some good, bits of information in here talking about some of his questions in response to that. The cosplay contest that wrapped up, that was something that was really awesome. You got Carolina in here, some other well-known individuals, and just the level of cosplay competition is up there. So, it's amazing. I mean, this obviously is great, right? This is I guess I would say the Null Rune traditional. Yeah, it's great. I love that you have this smattering across the board of a variety of very unique, just cards across the entire ecosystem. And it looks like Carolina did win a tailor. I need a tailor. They are very expensive, and it's going to take me a long time to get to the level of craftsmanship required for me to be able to pull that off. But one of these days it'd be really nice. But yeah, there's all these great photos to showcase some of these. Overloop was one of my favorites because it's a mech. So go mechanologist. But other than that, you have a bunch of other details in here, and that's going to wrap up the section of the video in regards to the Pro Tour Amsterdam and why that is kind of important to lead in to the next statement, which is, we got Rosetta spoilers at this event, right? So as this event was unfolding, the keynote speech that I mentioned at the very beginning, given by Brian Gottlieb, went ahead and kind of showcased some of the upcoming items. They teased some stuff, they gave a roadmap, and that is what the core of this video is going to focus on. So we'll come back to Fabry here in a bit, but this is some of the cards that have been spoiled now. And part of the Rosetta spoilers, this was not part of that specific, Pro Tour Amsterdam keynote speech, but this came out about the same time and shows some artwork in here, which again is very beautiful. This is I'm assuming, symbolizing the 4 different seasons that exist within this, and then they're going to do the spoilers in a little bit of a different method than they have in the years past, with like Uprising or Heavy Hitters as an example. Looks like a lot of the higher rarity items are going to be reserved for when you basically go to those events and you get to open that pack in person, which I am absolutely happy to see. Like that is fantastic. So seeing all these different, ones that are going to be coming out, I'll be curious, if they're going to involve any content creators at all in this. It looks like it may just very well be each of these events are going to reveal a little bit, and they may actually not involve content creators from this, because it looks like that window for the release or spoiler season is very, very narrow, and it's at the end. It's after Gen Con. So then we have all these different winter, spring, summer. I really love this one right here. And then we kind of get into, you've seen some of this in the past. This is some artwork from Rosetta. These are the 4 heroes. We did not know the text until this keynote, so this was kind of the spoilers. People were speculating a lot of this, talking about where some of these events are going to be. This all kind of summarizes some of the information that we'll be talking about as we get into the keynote speech. And what's really interesting here is when you start looking at the pack setup, there is something that has been talked about. Saint mentioned this. I've noticed it too. It's called the UPP policy, and this is something to note for anybody looking to purchase products going forward. Instead of basically being able to have a MAP price, a minimum advertised price, this is a universal price policy. Looks like it is going to apply specifically to the newer sets, but it's still worth noting because, as an example, there will be a base floor price that is the MSRP minus 20% that you won't see people advertising. You won't see it sold by. So I don't know if this applies to like point programs, but if like your LGS is a point program and they're offering it at the UPP policy, and technically your point program would take you past where that minimum price policy is, that's breaking it. That's breaking that violation. There's some concerns there, but at the same time, that's just something to note. You're going to notice that probably you're not going to find any boxes for less than that 20%. And I guess just be mindful of that, knowing it. It's a good thing. I think it has some good. There also is a whole, I want to do almost a video on that, but Saint really, I think, has said it best. Between Saint and Yanji, they had a good conversation on that. I won't dive too deep into that. Got some more artwork here, and again, these are all items that were on the website. This is the Rosetta product sales sheet. We did look at this a little bit, where you had some of the bits of information about the one fabled, 5 legendary, 49 majestic, 57 rares, 127 commons, 14 tokens, and 24 marbles. A lot of marbles. That's great for collectors. Also, there's a couple of new card types that have been revealed, so I'll be curious about the correlation of these packs, because it still looks like 16 cards per pack. So that's going to be kind of interesting, right? You're going to get maybe 2 tokens, so 11 commons per pack. It's just 1 token per pack, which is different. Well, no, I'm sorry, it's 2 tokens. It's 1 token guaranteed, and then 1 token slash expansion slot card. So really, it's the same setup, I think, is kind of what it is. But it does look nice. It is still the $109.99 or $109.90 USD for the price of that. There is going to be this beautiful, very similar to how they did it in, I don't know, actually, they didn't do this for Heavy Hitters. So they did it for the Round the Table, and then they did it for Mistvale, and now they're going to do it for this. I think this is going to be a mainstay going forward, but this is great because you're going to get all the Blitz decks, which is different than the First Strike decks. We'll talk about that because they do mention it in there, but you do get some packs in it. So again, I would still pick this up if you're a new enough player, and we'll get into that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into my Twitter feed here, which I kind of live documented some of this. So I have some notes off to the side here. I've watched the video, and we're going to go ahead and first showcase. This is the stage that they had the event at. You'll notice that they had a couple of different cameras. They had nice backdrop. That's the part, the Mistvale backdrop, right? And then on top of that, you have over here, you have the kind of art for the Rosetta information. So as Brian went through some of these items, I'm going to stare over at my thing. There are a couple of roadmap items that he talked about here. So first and foremost, if James White ever does watch this video, so he did mention that James is having a new family member. So James, congratulations on that. That is definitely something I have not personally gotten to go through yet, but I think that is fantastic, and I wish you the best, and hopefully you and your family, get get to enjoy that. So while you are out, sounds like Brian will be heading the ship, and it sounds like he's a pretty good captain to be doing that. So I'm not worried. I don't know why other people seem kind of concerned, but that's the nature of the internet nowadays. So the product roadmap, which I am displaying on the screen here, the product roadmap discusses things from the 2024 to 2025 timeframe, and some interesting things here is this is the set for Rosetta, which is the next set, then which is 14, then set 15 to 16, which are coming out, and then you have the Armory decks, which we know about Azalea, and then there's two more this year, and one of these two is slated to be an Armory deck with a new hero that has not been introduced in a core set. Now, I could make some assumptions, and I'm going to go out on the limb and assume that it is the Adult Terra. I think that the reason it would make sense if it is the Adult Terra is because that Adult Terra is going to open the ability for them to, well, for lack of a better word, provide a decent chunk of new tie-in to Rosetta while still allowing there to be something new. So maybe one of these will be a release of another hero from a former set, and one of these will be the new. I would almost imagine the new's probably going to be closer to November, and it may even, theoretically, be a pre-release of a hero that is in set 15 because they're so close, but it's between the November and December, so we'll have to wait till we get there. It's a little bit out, but that's just a little bit of speculation. So the next thing up on this list is, see Armory decks are going to be there kind of to stay. You got the First Strike decks, which will be at Gen Con. I'll be at Gen Con, so hopefully I'll see you there. I will have an event that I'm going to be hosting after hours one of the nights, just trying to see if I can get some folks to show up to that, kind of hang out, chat, and just enjoy just Flesh and Blood casually, and just, kind of see who all's there. But I'll be at Gen Con walking around and check out their booths and all that stuff. Circling back to the product roadmap, I think First Strikes are here to stay, as they kind of alluded to. And then right below this, which is not pictured here, but I did get a photo of that, is something called Mastery Packs. Now, Mastery Packs, the very first one here being Guardian, is actually kind of interesting. Now, it's far off in the future, so we're just speculating here. But they brought back Crack Shuffle Play, which is great because we knew that in Bright Lights that Crack Shuffle Play existed, and that was something where it was great because you were able to leverage Crack Shuffle Play because it was a single class. It was pretty fun. So, like, as an example, I would like to Crack Shuffle Play a Guardian Master Pack against the, basically a 3-card. I don't have 3 Bright Lights packs here, but if I had 3 Bright Lights packs, which I just bought a box of to keep on the shelf, so I'm going to be able to do Crack Shuffle Play against those two, right? I want to see how they interact. I get that Crack Shuffle Play is within that same ecosystem, but it'd be interesting to see if they can play against each other or cross, right? If we have Crack Shuffle Plays for the next 5 or 6 sets, maybe it'll be a thing. I think the Mastery Packs, I think, are the spiritual successor to the Everfest Crucible War Dynasty era kind of things, where you had those supplemental sets, but as the game has kind of grown, you've outgrown the capability of putting meaningful cards in one set singly to cover the vast majority of cards between talents, heroes, combinations of talents and heroes, all that. It's I think this is a beautiful solution, and it sounds like most of these again are brand new because of the smaller size. I bet you these are going to be 10 card packs, or if they do go 15 or 16, right? Because you got a Crack Shuffle Play to have maybe it's 3. If they follow that same mantra, maybe they're 15, 16 card packs, but it's very much like Jumpstart in Magic the Gathering. So you kind of have a myriad of reprints, but some new. But again, they are saying mostly all brand new, and it is mostly Guardian class. So I'll be real curious to see how this turns out. So that was one of the new interesting tidbits of information that they talked about. Let's see here. I had product roadmap, First Strike. I did like one quote. I will reiterate here. Brian Gottlieb did say that the First Strike decks are great for people who are stuck in an abusive relationship with a bad TCG and you want to get them out of it. I actually chuckled so hard at that. I think that is, I want that on a t-shirt. Like, I have inconceivable on this shirt here. I want, stuck in an abusive relationship with a bad TCG with a picture of somebody trying to hand you a Flesh and Blood box. Like, I just, that is I want that as a shirt. That is something. The Mastery Packs I talked about a second ago. I do like that he did quote one other item here called the tagline, Master Your Class. So I think that does elevate the Mastery Packs into something a little bit different. I think that they're going to look at it. Retrospectively, I do, again, like I said, I think this takes over the positions for that, for the old, like, Crew Dynasty and Everfest. And, yeah, I mean, next up here is the OP roadmap, something that I am not terribly familiar with, but it does have, I think it is 7-ish OP events. You have a couple of marquee events. You'll notice here that they talk about Europe and APAC, and they don't have a location on Worlds, but he did mention something pretty important. Well, I'm a dummy, so we're just going to ignore what I just said there. But looking at the FAB TCG organized play, it says November World Championship is in Osaka. I have no idea why I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but either way, that'll be exciting. I will not be able to go to that then. So, moving on. Next up, we have something that is near and dear, which I don't know why I skipped this, because that is the point of this 5th anniversary pack. So, they're saying that at that event, you will be able to, because October 11th, 2019 is when Flesh and Blood launched across the world, and this 5th anniversary pack is a special pack. That's all we know about it, but it will contain items or cards, I don't know how many, and I'm assuming they're going to be special. It's going to be highly sought after. I'm going to also imagine that these will be probably very hard to obtain. I would imagine, honestly, that it's going to be pretty hard to get. Sorry about that. When you have dogs, you gotta love them, but sometimes they just love to bark at the world. So, the 5th anniversary pack. I'm gonna have FOMO, because I don't think I'll be able to get one. And I sure don't think I'm gonna pay whatever outlandish price that they're going to cost in order to get. I can only hope that maybe in a world far, far away that they will have these for the entire year of the 5th anniversary, but maybe it is specific to that one event, or there's going to be multiple and there are unique cards to each area. I have no idea, but it is still exciting. I'll just have to wait and see. They did play a video in the middle of that, and I have some notes over here that's talking about Florian being young and adult, and then having a different number of key cards to do the ability between the young and the adult, so the 4 and the 8. That was kind of nice. There in the video were things talked about prophecy. Something about they haven't seen this many people since Everfest. There's something about a callback, and then I saw a dog. So dogs are canon, which means my dogs do exist in the world of Flesh and Blood. Thumbs up. There are a lot of very interesting promos. They talked about the different promos for the different levels of events, like at the Calling here, the Find Elves Fighting Spirit, and the Lightning Press. The Lightning Press, he did specifically mention that there is I guess, you want to pick them up. So hopefully you can get a hold of these, because they do look pretty, and I like this whole condensed micro 4/3 or the bottom text box. I really think that accentuates the artwork and just really makes it look great. Next up for the Battle Hardens, there are 3 new cards that they displayed here: Hide Behind the Pin, Smash Up, Tongue Tied, and these are, it looks like, pretty sweet looking cards. They're all generic, and they all have a very interesting kind of a flip on arsenal, right? So when this hits, card, turn the arsenal face up, banish a non-attack. This is banish an attack action and banish an instant card. So you have to know what it is, but in the case of using these, it has like an extra pizzazz to it. So this is kind of interesting. I definitely do think these are going to be, hopefully there's, common versions of these, or I should say, I think that these are extended art rainbows, but I'm assuming there's going to be versions of these in Rosetta, but they do look beautiful, so definitely looking forward to that. All right, and on some key dates here that were talked about in the keynote speech. The preview season, which is on August 27th, you have 1,500 pre-release events across the world between these dates. I think that is a very large number of pre-release events. That's actually awesome, because I remember back in the day not having that many. So they've definitely upped their level of pre-release events. And then the release day being September the 20th. I do want to talk about real quick, they did go back to discussing the First Strike decks, which is available in Gen Con for early access and then later in August. So I think that these are going to be a must-have, especially for a new player. I'm going to see if I can get allowed to buy 2 of each, 2 Auroras and 2 Terras, because I want to play Aurora versus Aurora and Aurora versus Terra, and then Terra versus Terra. I want to be able to do both combinations. But I don't know how many they're going to have there. I don't know if there's going to be a limit, but that is something I definitely want to pick up, because I think these would be really neat. I'm going to definitely pick them up and see what they're all about. All right, finally, we're getting into the meat and potatoes of stuff, and I'm going to try and breeze through this as fast as possible, but it is a lot, so thanks for staying with me. So, If you like this type of content, let me know in the comment section below, and we'll definitely do some more of this. But we got Florian, the Rotwood Harbinger here, which basically now we have the full text of this hero. Won't go into full detail on this because that's a whole separate video, but there were some differences between this, which is the Marvel version, you can see down at the bottom, the adult and the young. So this is what I was talking about here when I alluded to the 8 or 4. The hero ability scaled with the amount of health, or I should say adult versus young in the hero, which I think is a great game plan and actually opens up the game to a lot of really interesting possibilities, especially if the young and adults can be different. We got the Verdant's Thorn of Roses. Wow, I cannot say that. This is a basically wizard who wants to gain life and hurt you. So that is going to be an interesting one. The Marvel is fantastic. Next up we have Aurora, Shooting Star, and this is the Elemental Runeblade. And then we have what I believe is going to be my favorite, Acilio, Constant Intelligence, which is awesome. Pretty sweet looking stuff if you ask me, and all 4 of those came in the Marvel treatment. Now, in the video, this is pretty interesting because they did come out and show a card, and they did this whole null shock is a thing, then a kind of cute turn it to its side, then put the slashes and revealed these kind of dual-faced cards. And that really is something that in the back of my mind, I've been wondering how they can do this. They've had dual class cards, right? You Assassin, Ninja, and Outsiders, you know, those kind of things. This is kind of almost a spiritual successor or a different iteration of that, because the dual class was this or that within the whole class, which makes me think that these, because they are not a this or that, sadly, in my head, means that you have to be both of the bottom, a wizard and a lightning. But I could be wrong, and we could actually get a world where you could get, you can only play half of the card. Like if I'm staring at this, right, I can only play the wizard instant, or I could only play the lightning instant. You can have these built-in decks. So hopefully that is something that we're allowed to do. And I'm curious because later they show a different shock that's like a red shock versus like a yellow shock. So I don't know if maybe the pitch value is different. Again, there's a lot of things here, but this new ability Meld is kind of sweet. So this costs 1 and this costs 1, and if you wanted to play both, you actually would have to pay 2. But there's also instants here, and I do like this little lightning symbol that's hidden in the instant ability. I think that that's great for new players to identify, just like the defense reactions had that shield. I don't know why they didn't do it in like, there's a couple of, I think it was the Armory deck that came out. They didn't have a defense reaction shield on it, but maybe it was just an oversight. But either way, I think that these little quick symbols are beautiful little adds to the game. I did want to take to note that they did talk about a couple items in here. The new mechanics again, the new game-changing component, which we'll get to here in just a second. So there's a couple different versions. This is Comet, Storm, and Shock. So you'll notice that this shock here is a different type of shock. This is a red, so it's different. And again, this is where the speculation has to come in. Is that the triple? Is there going to be a blue shock as well, right? Because there might be. And then this is again a different version of a shock, but this is shock and burn up. So maybe you can only have a certain combination of 3 shocks and 3 burn-ups, because that shock would be a name, unless the name of this card is burn-up/shock, and that is the name of the card, which then opens you up to having, you know, as an example, if I can have 3 burn-up and shocks and 3 comet and shocks, well, now I have, you know, a different level of shock and a different level of shock for the burn-up. But I don't quite know the value. I'd have to go look at the Fabrary to see, but I think each shock, even though it's the same ability, may actually be a different cost. But, you know, again, neither here nor there. Other ones we had here, this is called Thistle, Bloom, and Life. This is pretty sweet. This is a gain of life. It's a Rune Blade and Earth. And then the next one that showed up here is the Pulsing Aether and Life. So this is Meld. A lot of arcane damage, and obviously there's some Earth. I don't know how this is going to work out, but again, I think the duality of this, especially if these come in cold foil, like if there is a version of this that's going to be, or like a rainbow foiling, the selective foiling that Flesh and Blood chooses to use, just going to make that epic. Now, we're going to get to the next big thing, macros. This is truly the thing that, why I made the beginning of this video about the moth to a butterfly. This alone, well, there's other reasons, but I think this is going to open up the world. I think we're going to be able to technically see this. He did talk about, another format in here. We got the sealed booster draft and blitz pre-constructed, but they also mentioned solo play possibly meaning PvE. But these macros allow for a kind of a, in Magic the Gathering, there was these cards that you could have on the arena. Originally, like back in the day, I believe those were originally called, not Plane Chase. That's the newer one, but there was like, oh my gosh, 1 second. What is that called? Now that I've had to look up the name because I forgot, it was like Magic the Gathering Vanguard or Plane Chase. This will truly allow for some pretty interesting, I guess, ways to change the game up, as was even mentioned in the video, right? This concept will open up the ability for just a myriad of concepts. You could have something on this macro on the board that says this macro does whatever, and maybe there's, in a future, you have a deck of macros that kind of change with things that go on, right? Or maybe you can purchase a macro with gold and bring it in. I don't know. Like, there's a whole crazy mind space in my brain where, like, you could use external factors to affect a game using macros in a capacity that has not been thought of or spoken about. So I think overall that's going to wrap up a majority of the stuff, because that's kind of where they ended. And after that, this is that video they talked about. I do want to touch a little bit about something. They did an upgrade to the deck gem list tools, and they also went ahead and spoke a little bit about how they're going to, I guess, also the judges are now getting some pretty interesting pricing and whatnot. So there's just so much going on. This is a kind of a longer video, but the keynote was about 36 minutes. Hopefully this is shorter than the keynote, but definitely go watch the keynote. This is my thoughts on it. This is where we're at. I think it's great. It's a good time to get into Flesh and Blood. I'm excited. Gen Con is literally right around the corner. This is the Sunday before Gen Con. I'm filming a couple different things today because I will be so out from the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I can't see straight. I have my other video releasing on Monday the 29th, so that's coming out, which is Geek Speak episode number 6, and hopefully I'll have a Geek Speak episode number 7 scheduled for the 5th. I got to figure out how to get that recorded, hopefully before Gen Con, so I might have to work on that with somebody and go from there, because really I almost want that. Maybe I'll do that one live, because that'll be a good recap of some stuff that happened at Gen Con. So who knows? But either way, thank you very much, and like, share, subscribe, hit that bell, and until next time, may your games be fun and your friendships grow. Cheers.